Hey guys, Marky here from the Marky YouTube channel. Welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. With that said, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get into it. Thanks. Am I the asshole here for showing my coworker what just being honest can be like? I, 26 female, started working at my job 6 months ago, and I immediately realized it was a horrible work environment. The men act like they're still in a frat house or something. There is one in specific that is like their evil leader. Let's call him Jake, 30-ish. He said he's just being honest, and talks about free speech or how he just says the first thing that comes to his mind. He's just disrespectful and a bad person according to me. I started looking for a new job 3 months ago, but I haven't had any luck with the same pay, so I'm still here. As I said, he is cruel and mean with everyone, especially the women, and a couple of guys who aren't alpha enough. For more context, I have ADHD and other things, and I struggled a lot as a teen/early 20s to be kind to people and myself. I also still have the impulses to say all the mean things that come to mind, but I worked hard in therapy to stop those thoughts and redirect myself somewhere else. Anyway, I decided to give him the same treatment that he gave everyone else after he told a pregnant co-worker that he can't understand how her husband didn't cheat on her yet because she's a cow now. I started about 3 weeks ago. He came to talk to me and told me that I'm basically a dude because I don't have enough chest, and I told him, "Jake, are you balding, or is your forehead always that inhumanly big?" And so on, but yesterday we were talking with a few coworkers about all I cooked for New Year's because I tend to go overboard, and they were impressed with my dinner. He came and started saying nonsense and throwing insults, so I said, "See, this is exactly why your daddy left you." And I continued on with my conversation. Well, he talked to HR, and I have an appointment to talk to them on Thursday. However, my coworkers said that they would support me, and they decided to file complaints against Jake now and document his behavior. Apparently they already did, but HR just gave him a slap on the wrist, and now they're angry because they want to talk to me so fast. I'm not particularly scared about the appointment, but I wonder if I went too far. Yes, he started it, but I don't tend to lower myself to bullies' levels. But I really didn't see any other way when HR never did anything about the complaints. I don't really want to apologize to him, but I will do it if I cross a line because, as I said, I work hard in therapy to be as decent of a human being as I can be. And maybe this wasn't the best way to handle all of this. So am I the asshole here? In the comments, not the asshole. If HR requires an apology, you can always word the apology properly. "I'm sorry that I made fun of your large forehead. I see now that going bald is making you uncomfortable, and I will not mention it again. Also, I am genuinely sorry that your father left you. I am very sorry both your father and your hair left you. It seems to be a pattern, a male pattern. I'm so sorry." HR reacted because you are a woman. Call them out. Ask them to explain why you are getting this response when he's been walking around terrorizing everyone since he's started. Use the term hostile work environment, sexism, bullying, abuse, and personal grievance. Before you go in, speak to an employment lawyer because you do have rights, and if you can't get one before the meeting, then go in and say that you're recording this meeting for your lawyer to review. Not the asshole. Record the meeting on the phone for accurate documentation and to protect the interests of the company. If you're a single-party state, don't tell them until after it's over. This 100%. He's a bully that can't take his own crap. If HR is only defending him, make sure that they're too scared to do so. And if HR is buddies with the bully, let the CEO know about the constant bullying and HR's refusal to do anything about it. Not the asshole, and you sound awesome. ASAP, pull that pregnant woman aside and make sure she explains to HR that she was the victim of gender-based harassment. Hopefully, those are real buzzwords in your country and will get them to take shit seriously. Yeah, not the asshole OP. There's an obvious, imbalance of power here, you might say. For some reason, Jake's allowed to create a hostile work environment for months with sexist comments, body shaming, bullying, and degrading a pregnant coworker, but the moment you do it, Suddenly, HR needs to be involved. I love a cry bully. Classic cry bully tactics. And yeah, we all know the issue isn't what you said, it's the fact that HR's ignored repeated complaints. That's their fault, and obviously the rest of the workplace is behind you in this. What he said, commenting on your chest, is sexual harassment, full stop. Document everything, get your coworkers to back you, protect yourself, and don't tolerate this shit. I hope you win this fight. And now, on to the update. Well, I had my meeting with HR, and it went relatively okay. First of all, I went on detective mode, and I found out one of the guys in HR, Dylan, was related to Jake. Their mums are cousins, so they don't have the same last name or anything, but I found Jake's mum on Facebook, and then a picture with Jake's mum, Dylan, and his mum. I screenshotted it, and I talked to my supervisor, and he decided to come with me to the meeting. In the meeting, there was Dylan, his boss, Jake, my supervisor, and me. Dylan tried to lead the meeting and suggested immediate termination, but my supervisor told him that we will have our meeting with the other guy because I deserved a neutral meeting, and showed both of them the picture. Dylan's face dropped, but he didn't say anything else after that and just left the room. The other HR guy talked to me and my supervisor, and I gave him my story and gave him like 12 notes signed by my coworkers where they talked about their experiences with Jake. The HR guy called a couple of them, including my pregnant coworker, to his office after dismissing me. And on Friday, I had another meeting, but it was only me and the HR guy. I talked about how uncomfortable I felt and how everyone tried to do the right thing by reporting him, but they never did anything. He said he understood, and sadly, Dylan was not impartial in his actions by covering for Jake, but that it was dealt with. He said I wasn't going to get written up or anything, and that I'm in the clear, but he asked me not to repeat this, and I told him I wasn't planning on doing it again, and he just told me to go to him if something else happens. Yesterday, I got to the office and everything was normal. But at noon, my supervisor came to me and my pregnant coworker and told us that Jake and Dylan were let go, and that Dylan might have some legal trouble with the company, but he couldn't discuss that, and asked us not to say anything about it to anyone else, and that people would realize about Jake anyway. I also have a second interview in another company next week. I'm hopeful, but I'm also nervous because I had interviews before, but they didn't go anywhere. And that's all. It was more dramatic than I expected. I thought they'd fire me and keep Jake or something, but I feel like finding out Dylan was covering for Jake because their family relationship helped me tremendously. Thank you for the advice. It was really useful. In the comments, Helena Flowers says, I remember your first post, and I'm glad to see this update. I'm guessing that Dylan's employment in the HR department is how Jake has managed to get away with this stuff up until now, since clearly no one knew about the connection until you pointed it out. That syncs up with what you said in your first post about Jake only getting a slap on the wrist before. My additional guess, re Dylan, is that the legal troubles could very well have something to do with proof that he's covered up for Jake in the past, including perhaps some instances that could have opened the company up to a lawsuit for either something Jake said or wrongful termination of an employee who reported it. Good for you for doing a little digging and finding out what you did, then bringing it with you as proof and leverage. I'm glad Dylan and Jake had the day they deserved. It's also possible they didn't disclose their relationship, and that, on top of everything else, is putting Dylan especially in hot water. I'm positive they didn't disclose their relationship. Different last names, so unless there was crossover somehow, no one would have known if OP didn't go digging. Which is insanely stupid if you're going to keep covering for a family member who is a huge liability. But I'm sure they both thought that they were too clever to get caught. It's either that, or someone new and is covering their own asses by firing both of them, because that never should have happened in the first place. If the company didn't know about Dylan and Jake's relationship, and the company is this shook, I might decide to take legal action and wait for a settlement. I think you got them by the balls. The pregnant coworker certainly does. Jake's comment from the original post about her husband not cheating on her crosses major boundaries. Always the possibility of it, but who knows if OP's actually going to do it. I don't think they will, but it would be really funny if they did. I'm glad that you backed up your claims with written statements, got your supervisor around, and kept it professional, as you should have, but people don't always keep it professional in instances like this. And maybe that's why those two also got canned. I wonder what they said behind closed doors. And good riddance that Dylan's gone. Covering for family in HR is just ridiculous. I don't know why he thought that he could get away with that forever. I guess there is a possibility that that does happen, but why would you risk your future on that just so that you can play politics in the workplace? Defending someone that at some point is going to cross a major boundary because he's allowed to escalate his behavior. Like, Dylan has a lot to answer for in this situation. I hope your next job treats you better, OP. I don't blame you if you don't stick around here. Thanks for the story and thanks for the update. Our next post is by user Stop Looking at My Colon, titled, Am I Overreacting? Teacher said my daughter's report is immoral. So my 9-year-old daughter has an assignment every year where they embody a historical figure of significance. She looks forward to this every year, and she really gets into picking her figure out and learning about them. They're supposed to pick 3 people, and then the teacher chooses which one of the 3 that they can do. This year, my daughter chose Freddie Mercury, Prince, and Anne of Cleves. Today, the teacher messaged me saying that Freddie Mercury and Prince aren't acceptable because they weren't moral people. And Anne of Cleves isn't acceptable because she didn't make enough of an impact on the world. For reference, last year my daughter was Frida Kahlo, and the year before she was Josephine Baker. I prepared a big long response about how morality is subjective, every human is complex, and not wholly moral or immoral. My family doesn't believe in judging other people's morality, and that choosing a moral person wasn't even a condition as part of the assignment. But then my husband came home and found me seething, and he thinks I'm overreacting, and that this isn't a fight worth fighting. So, am I overreacting? Or should I stand my ground? In the comments, Significant Cold says, Nah, you're not overreacting at all. That teacher is being super inconsistent here. If Frida Kahlo and Josephine Baker were fine, then suddenly Freddie and Prince are too immoral? What are we doing? I'd absolutely push back, politely but firmly, and ask for the actual written criteria. Because it sounds like the teacher is just imposing their personal values instead of following the assignment. I would also demand that the teacher explain what they specifically mean by immoral. Please explain, with specifics, how exactly Freddie Mercury was immoral. I'd also ask for a list of the historical figures that this teacher approved for other students. If I saw a single slave-owning founding father, segregationist, racist, or bigot of any kind, I'm popping off on that teacher. Ma'am, how on earth is Thomas Jefferson less immoral than Freddie Mercury? Or Ben Franklin? What? Don't you think a diplomat going to France and sleeping with just a ton of women, possibly including the aristocracy, is a moral figure? A dude who literally held sex parties could be considered immoral? Freddie Mercury donated to charity all the time, especially AIDS charities. Prince also donated millions to charities. What is this teacher on? Freddie Mercury and Magic Johnson were the faces of the AIDS epidemic. The teacher is definitely a homophobe and a racist, and also, woefully uneducated. And Princess Diana. She didn't have AIDS, but she changed the projection of the movement when she publicly hugged, shook hands, and touched AIDS victims. An angel on earth when she was here. Not overreacting. I would die on this hill for my child. This teacher would never know what's coming. All of my corporate experience of escalating to supervisors, passive-aggressive emails, etc. would come out to standing on fucking business. Edit. Also, this 4th grade teacher is taking their job way too seriously. What really stuck with me is Opie having to question her decisions on this one because the husband came in, said she's overreacting and that this isn't a fight worth fighting. In my mind, there has to be a risk of something bad happening in order for you to say the risks outweigh the benefits of taking on this fight. But I simply just cannot comprehend what is at stake here. What does OP stand to lose? What repercussions come upon OP Should she fight this fight? Maybe there's a bit of private embarrassment with the teacher. Maybe she loses morale or she loses the respect of the teacher. But really, I don't see the stakes in this situation. I don't know why you wouldn't fight this. Unless the husband is on board with what the teacher is doing and is like, you know what, Prince and Freddie Mercury were immoral people, and I agree with her, and that's why it's not worth fighting. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that's not where he's coming from. I think you're not overreacting, OP, because the teacher's obviously moving goalposts based on their own personal values and not the assignment criteria. Incredibly biased bullshit coming from that one, because as we've all deduced, morality was never listed as a requirement, and history isn't about pretending that people were perfect. This is all about impact, culture, and change, and Freddie and Prince absolutely shaped music and society as a whole, and Anne of Cleves played a major role in political history. You can push back calmly and ask for written guidelines if you want to, but I don't know if you're going to be taken seriously if it's not a bit of a freak out. You usually do have to escalate and lay down the law with people like this, at least in my personal opinion. Plus, it just makes for a good story, so I want you to go full bore on these idiots. And now, on to the update. Info. It's a private school, but it's not religious. The teacher is brand new and just started after Thanksgiving. We live in northern Nevada. It's a school-wide assignment, so the teacher didn't make it up. Every class does it every year. It's like a tradition. They switched it up for the grades. Like kindergarten draws a picture of their person, while 8th grade does a several-page report. Update. I'm not sure why the post got locked, but thanks everyone for your support and input. There is a resolution, but it's pretty anticlimactic. I emailed the teacher back, and here's what I said. I'm sorry, but the assignment was a historical figure of significance. Morality is subjective, and if you think Anne of Cleves didn't make a big enough contribution to history, maybe hearing a report about her is just what you need. I'd like to ask you to reconsider and choose from the list blank provided. She thought about each figure long and hard, and she's very excited to share about them with her classmates. I also emailed the principal with my concerns. Here's that email. Hi, Mrs. Blank. Today, Mrs. Blank messaged me that she didn't approve of any of Blank's choices for Chautauqua for reasons that I feel are inappropriate. She said that Freddie Mercury and Prince were both not moral people. I find this problematic for several reasons. 1. It's not a teacher's responsibility to judge or encourage a student to judge a person's morality. I try hard to teach my children not to pass judgment onto people, so it bothers me that her teacher is encouraging her to do just that. 2. A person's vices aren't something that would be in a 3rd grader's assignment to begin with. She specifically told Blank that both of them are rock stars who used drugs and had loose morals, which is actually not even true. Prince was vehemently against drug and alcohol use and was very religious, but regardless, it's wildly inappropriate to assume that Blank's report would include a section about how Freddie Mercury liked to party and his drug of choice. Please. 3. The objective of the assignment is to showcase people of influence, not morality. With Blank's last choice, Anne of Cleves, she told Blank that she wasn't well known enough. I would argue that that's a perfect reason why Blank should do a report on her, to highlight her influence. I messaged her back and asked her to reconsider because Blank was pretty disappointed when she came home, but beyond making her unhappy, I still thought that I should tell you my concerns. Thank you. Blank. So, the big finale, the teacher messaged me back with this. I've talked with the administration about Chautauqua. We've decided that students may choose any of their choices. Please let me know which character you have decided on as soon as possible. So yeah, I'm glad this is the resolution because I'm not usually one to rock the boat. Oh, and I also had a talk with my daughter about how sometimes teachers can be wrong and that it's okay to question the rules if we don't agree with them. We also talked about what loose morals means, that people who have different beliefs are not bad or good people, that drug use doesn't shape a person's entire character, and that she did nothing wrong. We also discussed possibly choosing a different person just in case. And you know what, OP? You handled this the exact right way. even though it wasn't how I want to do it. Sometimes teachers aren't perfect and we can stand up to power. You're that person right now. I'm standing up to you. This was too calm and direct, and I wanted a bigger, spicier email, but fair game. It didn't have to be a personal fight, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's true that the teacher did overstep by injecting their own moral judgments into this project, as it was supposed to be about historical impact and not a purity test, and oh, go figure, suddenly Prince, a gay man, is lumped in with another gay man who had a reputation for partying and drugs, but Prince didn't have that reputation for drug use. But no. It seems as though because Prince gay, that means Prince bad. That is the implication here. And what a piece of shit she is for doing that. On a 4th grader's assignment, let's be real. This 4th grader is still learning about the world, and suddenly you bring these adult values that you don't think she should be exposed to, but you judge her for nonetheless, and say, how dare you choose this filth? Someone that should be shielded from adult values, but nonetheless is judged by adult values. You can see why I would make this into a personal fight. This is all about protecting your kid from being taught to judge people through someone else's bias. This was not about you being difficult at all. And bonus points for that conversation you had with your daughter, teaching her that adults can be wrong and that it's okay to question authority in a respectful way. I think you've perfectly modeled advocacy without the dramatics. That's exactly how this situation should have been handled, and hats off to you for that, OP. Thank you. Our next post is by user OKTough, and it's titled, I'm crazy attracted to my postpartum wife. So I just need to get this off my chest, because I'm worried that my wife will think I'm a creep if I tell her. Me and my wife have been together for about 15 years, and in those years we've had a healthy sex life, and I've always had an attraction to her. We always made sure that we were both getting pleasure, and that neither of us felt dissatisfied with intimacy. Recently, we had our first child together, and I first expected that my sex drive would go down. Not because I thought that I wouldn't find my wife attractive anymore, but because of testosterone levels dropping. But since she gave birth to our daughter, I've been obsessed with her. I can't help it. Just seeing her new look turns me on. When we're both getting ready in the mornings and when we're changing, my heart races and I get an erection. I do my best through all of this not to make her feel uncomfortable, so when this happens, I tell her that I'll change in the bathroom. Sometimes when we're both in the living room, my attraction is so deep that I can't take my eyes off of her. I know that at this moment in time, my wife's main priority, and also mine, is our baby girl. And she's definitely not in the mood for sex. So I know that I'll have to wait quite a while until she gets her sex drive back. When I'm feeling too horny and I'm struggling to contain myself, I lock myself in our bedroom and I masturbate to the thought of my wife. I obviously keep this mostly to myself because she's healing, exhausted, and dealing with a million things, and I never want her to feel pressured or objectified. I don't mind waiting because what matters the most to me during intimacy is that we are both enjoying the experience. What makes sex good to me is not quantity, but quality. Anyway, I feel a little unhinged admitting this, but there it is. In the comments, 77 Sins says, take out that attraction to her in the form of affection. Love her so much that she knows how you feel. It doesn't need to be sexual to be loving and intimate. This, extra kisses, rubbing faces together, snuggling a bit tighter, all sorts of non-sexual ways to show more intimacy. Dude, rubbing faces together is hella underrated. Tell her. It helps a bit during postpartum to know that your partner is going feral about you. This, postpartum depression doesn't get talked about enough. It's like 90% hormone level drop or something when you give birth. And just because she might not be interested in sex, it's still a great feeling knowing your partner is attracted to you. Give her the loving affection. But you can flirt with her too and let her know that you think she's a fox. You're a wonderful man. I appreciate your wish to keep her feeling safe and not to have to worry about sex, but I think you should tell her. A lot of women struggle with their bodies after giving birth. I'd recommend letting her know that you are in no way trying to initiate sex, but you want to let her know how beautiful her body is and how much you love her. I was thinking the same. It could be a good self-confidence boost for her. Also, maybe the changing in the other room away from her can come off the wrong way, that he's avoiding her for some other reason. You know what? Very wholesome post, OP. I love it. I don't think you're being creepy at all. Maybe it feels a bit that way because of your approach to this situation. And yeah, the changing in the other room away from her, maybe that does give off the wrong message that you are avoiding her. Who knows? That's something that you can bring up with her, that you didn't want to be coming off too strong physically, and that you didn't want her to read it any other way besides that. But otherwise, you're being deeply attracted to her while also being incredibly respectful of her recovery and boundaries is commendable. Absolutely. I feel like you're approaching it the right way because you're not pressuring her. I think you're just prioritizing her comfort and handling your own needs privately so that you can meet her where she's at. We all know postpartum can wreck people's confidence. And I think, like the comments have said, gently telling her that you still find her insanely attractive while making it crystal clear that you expect nothing sexually could help be a huge emotional boost. Keeping it non-sexual while also being very affectionate, extra hugs, kisses, cuddles, rubbing your face together, whatnot. Maybe you could surprise each other and she is open to something a bit more sexual with all of this love and affection. And again, meeting her where she's at. But again, I think you're doing everything right. None of this is really unhinged. And I think if you're just open with her about this and telling her everything you're feeling, you'll both be better for it. And now, on to the update. So I'd figured that I'd post an update since my original post had a lot of responses telling me to give an update. A lot of you who responded to my original post said that I should tell my wife how I felt, and that's exactly what I did. A few days ago, I decided to let out all my feelings to her. So I sat her down in the living room and told her how I felt. As I was telling her all of this, I could see her face start to blush and this huge smile spread across it. I didn't even get to finish everything I wanted to say because she suddenly leaped towards me and wrapped me in a big hug. She also started to say how she finds me more attractive since I became a dad. She said she finds my dad bod cute. Ever since we had this conversation, something has changed between us. She's become more noticeably affectionate towards me. When I get home from work, she greets me by showering me with kisses, and it honestly makes my whole day every time. She's even hinted that she can't wait to get back into action after she's done healing. We're taking intimacy slow, respecting healing and boundaries, and focusing on being a team. The attraction isn't about snapping back or bouncing back, it's about who she is right now. Honestly, I think this phase of life made me fall in love with her all over again. Thanks to everyone who encouraged me to communicate instead of keeping it to myself. Hug your partners, people. In the comments, Icy Influence says, with all the doom and gloom that's usually posted here, this is the absolute palate cleanser that we needed today. You two are handling this exactly right. Keep being a team. This is why I pay my internet bill. I'm so happy for you both. Abundance and health to you and your beautiful family. Absolutely, OP. Glad to see a final happy ending. Definitely not doing that meme where I'm like, so happy for you. Great. I just hate that that's definitely not crossing my arms right now and scowling in your general direction. Man, that's so great that good things are happening to you. Or my favorite meme, I don't really care if something good happens to you. It should have happened to me instead. But look at that, guys. Clear-cut communication and honesty wins again. Who would have thought? Beautiful ending. No notes. Thank you for listening to the community that poured their heart out and said, just talk to your wife, OP. Here's to another 15 years. Good luck. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.